What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Erasure, though people who follow my deep dives will know I did actually just do an original Erasure track a few days ago, but we're also coming back because this is a Shep Pettibone reaction, meaning I've begun to go through some Shep Pettibone remixes. Once again, big shout out to Izzy who's been sharing the material, and by the time you see this video, I hope I've gone back and included the outstanding tracks that I had already reacted to, which have Shep's production influence or outright remix work on them. But yes, the point is, I've been going through some of his notable remixes from artists that I'm already deep diving, and when I reacted to a Shep Pettibone remix the previous time, I made up my mind that I wanted to hear his remix of Erasure's Chains of Love, a tune I very much enjoyed from their 1988 album The Innocents. And it's called the Unfettered remix, which of course fits nicely with the idea of Chains of Love, and I also did actually react to the music video where they're, or at least Andy, I don't remember Vince, but Andy is, sort of bound up and swinging about on these cables, so I feel like there's a lot of visual and conceptual metaphor at play with the lines, which are fundamentally figurative and about social attitudes and freedoms and cultural mores and so on. So ultimately, I'm curious to hear what Shep does with it, and if it is unfettered sonically, meaning longer interlude sections and taking certain elements and breaking free with them in a way. So let's see what it is. This is Shep Pettibone's Unfettered remix of Erasure's Chains of Love, originally from their 1988 album The Innocents, which you can't see but is up there on my wall. Definitely a different intro. Kick drum driving already, whereas the intro of the original is ambient and vocal. Already those tribal drum rhythms. love pulling out the different ingredients and then rearranging and reinserting them into the mix. And the female vocals, I think we do hear them on the normal track, but maybe not in isolation like that.
How can I explain when there are few words I can choose? And how can I explain when words get broken? We used to talk about the weather, making plans together, days would last forever. Come to come and hold me, together we break these chains of love. Don't give up, don't give up now. Together with me and my baby, break the chains of love. Together we break these chains of love. Don't give up, don't give up now. Together with me and my baby, break the chains of love.
I love that. What are you doing? Strong tension string. So yes, very different from the original, but in ways that are, I think, indicative of the Shep stylings that I'm still in the early phase of getting a real sense for. But after multiple remixes, those tribal drum rhythms definitely seem to be a major facet of his mixing slash remixing work. Also, the chopping of vocals, the rearranging of words in the original lyrics to make rhythms vocal and melodic is also seemingly a staple. And I like the way some of them are chopped in a way that they make these cheeky new phrases like don't talk about the weather. So it's like, you know, it's not really saying don't talk about the weather, but the way he chops them up is not only rhythmic and melodic, but it creates these new phrase types in the context of the remix. Definitely, again, a different intro that, you know, straight into the dancing rhythm, straight into the tribal drums, rather than that longer, sweeping, sort of ambient intro to the album track. Then there were some interludes where, again, it's like he pulls out the different ingredients and then reinserts them, but in ways that are more isolated or in tandem, whereas for the most part in the original track, you get their suite, all of them together, or at least, in larger groupings than just couplets or singles. So it allows you to focus on some of the elements a little more. And then again, the way he adds a bit of a tribal dance floor type of rhythm makes some of the instrumental or sonic ingredients hit differently. And then again, the last 2 to 3 minutes, lots of that vocal sampling and chopping and rearranging work. So overall, the whole track felt notably different, even if it's the song it's, the lines and Andy's vocals and, that synth bass groove that dominates Vince's stylings on the original album track. So yes, I enjoy what he does with it. He stretches it out, he isolates and highlights particular sonic elements, he adds some of his own rhythms and percussive flavor and makes it an even more danceable tune. And in fact, that reminds me, Joseph, if you see this, which you probably will because you seem to key into a lot of the 12-inch mixes and longer cuts of some of these album tracks that I've gone through either after doing the normal or single version, or in some cases even before I've reacted to a normal version of a track. I did get your message, and I will do the next 2 tracks on that special 12-inch CD you sent me in tandem. So big shout out to you, and thank you for the patience. Shout out to Izzy once again. Shout out to Shep. As I said, I have come to understand that he worked with and or remixed artists from across not only my interest going back to the 80s. Again, Erasure I listened to in the 80s and I was fond of, and Madonna, maybe I listened to her more comprehensively and more enthusiastically now than I did as a kid, but again, I remember hearing some of her, especially like early 80s synth tunes a lot when I was a kid and enjoying those. So then getting a sense that he worked with some of these people, especially Madonna. I know, I remember Izzy showed me some pictures of Shep and different contexts, and one of them he was hanging out with Madonna, and I know he worked with her on a number of tunes / albums. So yes, ultimately getting a greater sense for this going through the actual tracks and enjoying here a remix of Erasure is great. So looking forward to more. In the moment, I'm forgetting what the next one, Izzy and I talked about an order that I might go through them, but as I said, my plan is when I upload this to include at least some of the previous tunes. What perfect timing. Are you taking off? Amazing. Sometimes she jumps up right when I'm about to finish, sometimes she objects heavily to me getting up at the finish of a video. This time it works out. But yes, my plan is to get a few more of those outstanding tunes, because they didn't say, Shep Pettibone remix, and thus, when I began going through some of those remixes, I wasn't even aware that, he was the architect behind them. But my plan is to get more of them into the Shep playlist, because I do have a Shep Pettibone playlist now, so all in good time. Let me know what you think of this remix, and we'll see you next time. Peace.